Today, we are going to study about the remedial measures to the problems of Indian agriculture. So, first of all, we want to know what is agricultural marketing. So, here we can see agricultural marketing covers the services involved in moving an agricultural product from the farm to the consumer. So you have already learned about this one. Just we are going to revise that. That's all. So agricultural marketing is nothing but agricultural product is transported or sold to the consumer. These services involve planning, organizing, directing, and handling of agricultural produce. Produce means products in such a way as to satisfy farmers, intermediaries, and consumers. Here you want to see three members are there involving in this agricultural marketing: farmers, intermediaries, otherwise known as the middlemen. You might have studied already that one. And finally, the consumers. Now, let us revise what are the problems of Indian agricultural marketing. First one, existence of the middleman. You studied already in the previous class, this one. Just I am giving you an overview, that's all. Then only we can move to the remedial measures. First, we want to know what are the problems, isn't it? Then only we can study the remedies to that one also. So, first, existence of the middleman. Second, malpractices in the market. Third, inadequate facilities of transport. Fourth, lack of storage facilities. Fifth, lack of market information. Sixth, lack of grading and standardization facilities. Seven, lack of credit facilities. And eight, lack of organization among the farmers. These are the problems that we have to find remedies. So here only you can see there are only 8 problems, but we are going to study about 9 remedies. That is, even if we have 8 problems are there, we have 9 solutions to that problems. So here you can see the remedial measures. First one, regulated markets. Second one, cooperative marketing. Third, contract farming. 4, Raitu Bazaars. 5th, facilities to grading and standardization. 6th, warehousing facilities. 7, transport facilities. 8, credit facilities. And finally 9, market information. So we have to study one by one. So we will discuss with the each and every point clearly we will learn. So let us move to the first point. Here you can see the first remedial measure is regulated markets. What is a regulated market? Regulated market is the wholesale market where the buying and selling is regulated and controlled by the state government through the market committee. There will be one market committee provided by the government. That market committee will regulate the existing market. Such kind of market is known as the regulated market. Here you can see it aims at the elimination of unhealthy and unscrupulous practices, reducing marketing charges and providing facility to producers and sellers in the market. It mainly aimed at what are the problems that exist in a market to solve that problems, especially the middleman. We have already learned about the one of the marketing problem was middleman. So, and some other problems are also there. So, in order to eliminate all the problems existing in the markets, the government has decided to start the regulated markets. Its main aim is to narrow down the price spread between the producers and consumers and to reduce the non-functional margin of the commission agents. These commission agents or middlemen, we can call them in different intermediaries, like that we can call them. So their margin should be reduced. and main benefit should be given to the producers or the farmers. Here, both should be benefited, the consumer as well as the producer. At the end of 1940, there were 135 regulated markets in India, which increased to 286 by 1950. The growth of regulated market in India showed a remarkable progress since the beginning of the planning era, that is from 1951 onwards. By the end of March 2005, the number of regulated markets increased to 7,521. You can see the data from 1940. That means before the independence itself, the regulated markets were established in India, and it progressed over the time. Even during the 5-year plans also it increased, and then it reached around 7,521 in 2005. Market committees are established consisting of the representatives of the growers. Here we have already told that this market is regulated by market committees. So this committee, who are the members of this committee? You can see the growers, traders, local body members, that means Panchayat Raj members, sellers, cooperative shops, and the state government nominees. These are the members that constitute the market committee. The market committee consists of 12 to 18 members minimum, depending on the size of the market and other considerations. Now let us see what are the important functions of this regulated market committee are highlighted in India are as follows. First one, fixation of charges for weighing and brokerage. So in some markets, the charges for weighing and brokerage is not fixed. So according to the person, it may differ. So first thing is that to fix that one to eliminate the malpractices. And then second one, enforcing the use of standardized weights. In majority of the markets, we can find that the weights are not standard. They are doing some malpractices in there. So in order to avoid that one, the standardized weights have to be used. Third, providing up-to-date information of the market prices. The existing prices of all products should be notified clearly. And everybody is not known to the up-to-date prices. So what they have to write the market prices and they have to display that on the market. That is also the duty of regulated marketing committee, the committee that regulates the market. Now, fourth one, prevention of unauthorized deductions and underhand dealings. You might know about this one because you also belong to some agricultural area, means you will understand whenever the person are selling some agricultural products or something, there will be some deduction. That will be damage deduction or something that will be there. So this unauthorized deduction, sometimes it will be more. So this unauthorized deduction should be handled. Next, market licenses are given to the middleman and their number is to be minimized. The middleman, the one who is connecting the mainly the producers and consumers, is the middleman, producers and sellers mainly. So these should be there should be given licenses and this should be controlled. Settling of dispute among the parties arising in the market. Definitely in every field of life, there will be some kinds of disputes. So such kind of disputes will arise in the markets also. So settling of the kind of disputes are also coming under this committee members. Warehouse and cold storage should be provided to the farmers wherever necessary. This is another important area where the regulated market uses, that is the cold storage facilities, because some products will be easily damaged. So such kind of products should be stored properly. So if not, it should not be marketed in proper way. That's why. Now let us see. Most of the states have enacted legislation to regulate agricultural markets. In every state, there will be some rules and regulations. It has been great success in the states like Punjab and Haryana. That means the regulated markets have been very successful in the states like Punjab, Haryana. At first, the commercial crops like cotton, jute, tobacco, etc. were given preferences. However, the regulated markets help the farmers in getting reasonable prices for their products. As much as 80% of agricultural products are sold at regulated market. It's the present situation right now. Now let us move to the second point, that is cooperative marketing. So you want to understand one more thing. In this second year, almost all the questions will have subheadings, all the areas. If you observe, whatever you have learned till today, if any question is coming from that one, the answer should be given by writing the side heading first and underlining that, then only you have to write the answers. So in each and every questions, there will be subheadings. The problem of agricultural marketing, if you take, there are 8 subheadings are there. Now, if you are taking the remedial measures, there are 9 subheadings are there. So you have to by heart the subheadings first, then you have to write something downside of that one. Then your essay question or 5-mark question will be very easy for you. Now let us go to second point, that is cooperative marketing. Cooperative marketing is the marketing for the producers and by the producers that aims at eliminating the chain of middlemen operating between producers and the ultimate consumer, and thus securing the maximum price for their products. So here cooperative marketing means the producers themselves, they are going to create a society, and being a member of that society, they are going to sell the items to the ultimate consumer. Whoever is the consumer who wants to purchase the product, they will sell it directly. In other words, cooperative marketing societies are associations of producers for the collective marketing of their produce and of securing for the members of the advantages that result from large scale business, which an individual cultivator cannot secure because of his small marketable surplus. So here is a society is formed by the producers. That means one producer is there, means he will not be able to control the market. So all the producers of, for example, tomato, all the producers of tomato together will make a society and they will sell that product to the consumer so that he can bargain and he will get the best price out of that marketing. Now, let us see the history of the cooperative societies. Cooperative Societies Act was started before the independence in 1912. The first cooperative society was formed in Hubli in 1915 to encourage the cultivation of improved cotton and to sell collectively. Then in 1918, the South Canara Planters Cooperative Sales Society was formed in Madras province for joint sale of arecanut. Arecanut means waka that we are using for pujas or something, no? That is. So fourth one, in 1920-21, there were only 31 cooperative societies. And in 1958, the National Agriculture Cooperative Marketing Federation, NAFED, it's very important, NAFED came into the power as the apex body of cooperative marketing. Which is the apex body of cooperative marketing? It is NAFED. The full form of NAFED is National Agricultural Cooperative Marketing Federation. In 1963, the National Cooperative Development Corporation, NCDC, was established. This is another important institution in India that controls the cooperative marketing. In 1968, the RBI, Reserve Bank of India, recognized the linking of credit with marketing as a necessary step for the development of agricultural marketing. Even RBI also supports this cooperative marketing. During the last 40 years, the number of primary agricultural cooperative marketing societies increased from 3,108 to 7,871. That means the cooperative marketing societies are increasing very fast. Now let us see what are the advantages of cooperative farming. Is there any benefits that we receive from the cooperative farming, the producers? So there are 10 benefits are there listed here. So the first one is increases bargaining strength of the farmers. You can see that automatically they become a union, and that union gives them the bargaining strength. One person is going and selling means It's not a thing. So other person will sell for reduced amount. But here you can see that the increased bargaining strength because of the union. Altogether, they are selling at one price. So everybody will be benefited with that one. Second, storage and warehousing facilities. Storage facilities are provided by the cooperative societies. Third, grading and standardization facilities. We will talk about these points later because this is also a part of remedial measures. The storage, warehousing facilities, grading and standardization. So we are not going to discuss more about that one here. Influencing market prices and control of the flow of supplies. How can they influence the market price? Because they form a society and they sell through one point only, so that they can wait until they get the best price. So only the item will be provided by them only. So the other persons are not supplying that one. So they will influence the market prices. Next, provision of credit. If they are part of cooperative society, the government through government banks or financial institutions, they will get credit. Credit means loans. Easier and cheaper transport. The societies will provide them. One of the main problem of agriculture marketing is the transport. We'll study about that later. Provision of inputs and consumer goods like seeds, manures, fertilizers, pesticides, etc. So here these societies will provide the producers items like seeds, manures, fertilizers, pesticides, etc. Processing of agricultural produce like crushing oil seeds, ginning and pressing of cotton, etc. They'll after the agricultural production, there are some processing needs are there. So such kinds of processing works also will be done by the agricultural cooperative societies. Market intelligence, another important thing, obtain data on market prices, demand and supply, and other related information. So this cooperative society will study about the market prices and what is the demand and what is the supply. So at what time we have to sell, at what price we have to sell. So everything they will discuss. That is known as the market intelligence. Now, final point, direct dealings with the final buyers. There is no middleman. So the exploitation of middleman will be reduced. Now let us see the third point, that is contract farming. What is this contract farming? Contract farming is defined as a system for the production and supply of agricultural or horticultural produce under forward contracts between producers or suppliers and buyers. We have already told producers, suppliers and buyers, three members are there. Between them, there will be a contract that based on that contract only, they will sell their products. That is known as the contract farming. The essence of such arrangement is that commitment of the producer or seller to provide agricultural commodity of a certain type at a time and price and in the quantity required by non and committed buyer. So they will make a pre-order to the pre-arranged contract with the buyer. So that already the producer will produce the item and already the price and everything is determined. With that price, he will sell that to the, even if they want, the producers want some advance or something, the buyer will give, so that they don't want to depend upon any money lender or anything. So it will be easy for them and they will get some advance also. With that advance, they can start their farming and later they will give the products to the buyer. Contract farming usually involves the following basic elements: pre-agreed price. The main characteristics of the contract farming are pre-agreed price, quality, quantity, or sometimes acreage and time. So these are the basic elements of the contract farming. Now let us see what are the advantages or benefits of contract farming. So there are some advantages are there. The first one, it reduces the risk of production, price and marketing costs. One of the main problem faced by the agricultural products producer is there, the farmer is there. Whenever they produce item, they won't get the price, the expected price. Maybe cultivating some items by keeping in mind that they will get a better price. So what is the price now? For example, the banana cultivator will think that he will get for one bunch banana, he will get 20 rupees. He might think that. And he cultivate after when he bring this product, after producing this one, he takes that to the market. When he take that to the market, the shop owner is telling that I will take it for only 10 rupees. So at that time, the farmer will be the loser. He won't be able to keep that item for more than some days. So he may keep for 1 or 2 days. Within 1 or 2 days, if he does not sell that one, he'll have a great loss. So the farmer will be forced to sell the item. So that is why this risk will be solved by this one, the pre-arranged contract. So already agreement is there by the shopkeeper, so that he will sell that item for, he will buy that item for the rupees 20. So he will sell that item for 20 rupees to that whoever the buyer asked to get that one. So he will get that. Please don't disturb me. Mantala Renga Yamini. Always disturbing me with the annotation request. Don't keep like that. Now let us move to the second point. Make small scale farming competitive. Small farmers can access technology, credit, marketing channels, and information while lowering transaction costs. So here you can see that the small scale farmers, being a member of the cooperative society, they will get the access to the technology, they will get access to the loan facility, marketing channels, so on. So this will be helpful to the, it is one of the main advantage. And third one, assured market for their produce at their doorsteps, reducing marketing and transaction costs. So assured market price and already pre-agreed price is there. So definitely contract farming is there, means definitely the person who made the contract, he has to purchase that one. He might have given the advance also. So he don't want to wander for selling his products. That's it. Next, fourth, it also ensures higher production of better quality, financial support in cash and or kind, and technical guidance to the farmers. Because of this contract, they will get higher production, because they get in advance, they get the amount they will get, money they will get, and access to the technology they will get. Because of that, they will be able to produce in a better way. And fifth one, contract farming can open up new markets which would otherwise be unavailable to small farmers. So whoever it may be, the small farmers are there, those who do not get these kinds of facilities. So by being to a contract farming, by being part of a contract farming, they will be able to get new market opportunities and everything. Now let us go to the fourth point, that is the Raitu Bazaars. You are familiar with this concept because in your places also there will be markets are there. So that markets, if you have gone there, that will be a Raitu Bazaar only. It means that the farmers market. What is the meaning of Raitu Bazaar? The meaning is farmers market. It is otherwise known as the farmers market. It was a social initiative started by the government of Andhra Pradesh, started by our government, Andhra Pradesh government, on 26th January 1999. The main aim of Raitu Bazaar is to help the farmers bring and sell their produce directly to the consumers without the involvement of middleman. So this is the basic and very important thing. It was started in Andhra Pradesh on 26th January 1999, and the main aim was to sell the farm products directly to the consumers without the involvement of the middleman. In Raitu Bazaars, owners of the product can sell their goods to the consumers at a reasonable price and don't want to fear about the commission for the middleman. The main aim of this market was to control the middleman. But now, gradually, the middlemen are entering into this system. So the government has to check properly the entry of the middlemen. Now middlemen are trying to enter into this system. So who want to control this one? The government should control this one. As it is a good concept, it is better to implement Raidu Bazaars all over the country. Being a better and very nice concept, all over the India, these kinds of markets should be installed. And now let us move to the fifth point, that is the facilities of grading and standardization. Government of India has done much to grade and standardize many agricultural goods. It is started by the government of India because the government of India has to ensure the quality and quantity of the products. Now, let us see what is food grading. Food grading involves the inspection, assessment, and sorting of various foods regarding quality, freshness, legal conformity, and market value. These are the things they have to take in the food grading involves. Food grading often occurs by hand, in which foods are assessed and sorted. Sometimes machinery is also used to grade foods, and many involve sorting products by size, shape, and quality. Mainly, the food are graded by size, shape, and quality. Now, let us see what is standardization. It's about the weights, standard weights. Standardization is the process of fixing certain norms for the product. These norms are established by the customs or tradition or by certain authority. It involves determination of basic characteristics of a product on the basis of which the product can be divided into various groups. It also means determine the standard of the product to produce with the regard the size, color, form, weight, shape, and quality. Standards are model products which form the basis of comparison. What is the use of this one, food grading and standardization? For example, you take the case of apple. Apple are produced in different regions. So we are familiar with the word Shimla apple. So it's a kind of category. So that kind of apple is given that some kind of price. It is some of better quality. So Shimla apple is given a better price. So some apple is produced in some other countries, may not be good. Sometimes it may be costly, but in quality, it may not be good. The best quality apples are coming from Shimla, or whatever it may be the items. Whenever you go to market, they will tell this item is coming from this region. Sometimes the banana is coming from Pulivendula. So banana is coming from Pulivendula means that area is having a impact on the price. So it is having a better quality. So these things are given in the standardization and food grading. And what are the advantages of this grading and standardization? Uniformity in quality. Second, differential pricing. That means based on the quality, we can give different prices. Third, increase in demand. So better quality means definitely automatically this is graded and separately kept means there will be demand differences also will be there. So higher quality will get higher price, lower quality will get a lower price, maybe lower demand also. For expanding the market will be expanded. That means these items quality is very good. That kind of that one advertisement came means automatically this market will spread to some other areas also. This item is good, so we have to purchase from there. So that kind of differences will come. Next, it protects the consumers from unfair trade practices because a certain standardization is kept means the weight and everything. For example, the weight. So 1 kg means there should be a government norm is there, what it should be. So according to that, they have to keep the weight. Otherwise, telling it is 1 kg and they are selling it 700 grams, that is not fair. So to control that one. Next, quality certainty. So quality will be compulsorily checked and it will be certain because of this grading and everything, and separate marking are also. We are going to study about that one now. So here you can see the word ACMAR. We are going to study about the ACMAR. What is ACMAR? ACMAR is a certification mark employed on agricultural products in India. In India, the agricultural products are given a certification by the government of India that government certification mark is known, this here you can see that mark is known as the ACMAR, assuring that the conform to a set of standards approved by the Directorate of Marketing and Inspection and attached office of the Department of Agriculture, Cooperation of and Farmers Welfare under the Ministry of Agricultural and Farmers Welfare and Agency of Government of India. This one means here a big name is there. You don't want to worry about that one. It's a part of Government of India. So it's a part of Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. They are going to give certification to the farm products. So that certification mark is known as the ACMAR. The term ACMAR was presented by joining two words. Ag means agriculture and mark for the certification mark. So this is ACMAR. This is one of the certification agency in India. Now let us move to the sixth point, that is warehousing facilities. So we have already heard about this one also. Warehousing means nothing. It's about the storage facility. A warehouse is a place of storing surplus goods which consumers and clients don't need immediately. So here the warehousing facility, which means storage facility, if they don't have such facilities, they will be forced to sell their products at lower prices. For example, if you take the case of a farmer, he produces some tomato or something, and he can keep it for maybe maximum for 3 or 4 days. And if they don't have any cold storage facilities or something, he cannot keep it more than 3 or 4 days. It will be damaged, and before damaging, the producer will try to sell the item, because even if he gets less price, he'll be forced to sell the price. So, to sell the product. So the consumer, immediately after the harvesting, the consumer will be forced to sell their products. So if there are warehouses are there, means constructed by the central government, so they can store the items there. And now let us see what are the benefits of having a warehousing facility. First one, protection and preservation of goods. If harvesting is over, means also we cannot keep it in the farming area. Maybe all the farmers may not have storing area also. So such kind of farmers, if they keep it outside, sometimes thieves will come and take it and go. Otherwise, some rats will come and damage the products. So they will not get the whatever the price they need, they won't get that one. So to get protection and preservation, they need a warehousing facility. So the warehousing facility is good for that. Second one, reduces the risk of loss. For example, if we don't have a good price, we don't want to sell. If we get a good price, then at that time we will sell the item. For example, rice, wheat, like that. Whenever the harvesting time itself, we don't want to sell that. We can keep it for some days. So if we don't have that facility, means we'll have a loss. So that kind of loss will be reduced. Next, regular flow of goods. That means if storage facility is there, means sometimes the you might have already studied about the first year, you have studied about the supply and demand. Whenever the oversupply is there, automatically the price will be reduced. So to control that flow, if they have storage facility, means whenever it is needed, then only they have to sell. Warehousing ensures regular supply of such seasonal commodities throughout the year. For example, rice. Rice is needed throughout the year. So whenever the harvesting time only they are selling it, one means it won't be available for the future time, maybe after 2 weeks or 2 months. Then also if storage facility is there, means they can stop and they can sell that one. Next, availability of finance. Loans can be easily raised from the banks and other financial institutions against the security of the warehouse keeper's warrant. Warehouse is under the government, so they will give, warehouse keepers will be there, those who are in charge of that warehouse. So they will give a certification, means that will be useful for getting or availability of finance or credits. Next, price stabilization ensures regular supply of goods into the marketplace. We have already told, to control the oversupply, it is necessary. So if we control the oversupply, surely the price stability will be there. Now let us move to the seventh point, that is transport facilities. You know very well about this one. If transport facility is good means they will get the best rate. The quality also will be good for the product and they will get a good price also. Now, an improved transportation will encourage the farmers to work harder in the rural areas for increased production, add value to their products, reduce spoilage and wastage, empower the farmers as well as having a positive impact on their productivity, income, employment, and reduce the poverty level. Here you can see wherever good transport facility is there means they can transport the products to the market very easily and without much damages, so that they will get good price also for such kind of products. Let us move to the eighth point, that is credit facilities. So how credit facilities help? Since the independence, credit has been occupying an important place in the strategy of development of agriculture. Why we need credit? Because there are some initial expenditures are there for the production. They need to buy seeds, they need to buy fertilizers. Sometimes they need to or they want to make a borewell or something. They need money. So once you invest only, you can get the benefits. So for that investment, they need money. The agricultural credit system of India consists of, there are in India, what kinds of credit systems are there? Formal are there, informal are there. Let us see what are the informal systems. The informal sources include friends, relatives, commission agents, traders, private money lenders, etc. Suppose a farmer, if he is not having any money with him, means he will ask his friend or whoever his relative is there, give me some money. Whenever the cultivation is over, I'll give you after the harvesting. Like that he will tell. Or else he will go to the commission agent, the one who is purchasing the products or the middleman. So they will get money from them and they will be forced to sell the item for less cost. Even from the traders, shop owners, they will ask them to get the money. So next another category is private money lenders. You know about this very well, I think. Next, the major channels of the formal credits. Formal credits include commercial bank. Bank will give credit to the producers, farmers. Regional rural banks, RRBs. Next, cooperative societies will give. We have already learned about that. Next, microfinance institution. You will study about this one later. Covering the whole length and breadth of the country. And in all the areas of the country, these commercial banks, regional banks, cooperative societies, and microfinance institutions give credit facilities. If these kinds of credit facilities are not available to them, they will go for informal sources. Now, the final point, that is the market information. So, how can they get the market information? They can get if they do not have a good information about the market, they will lose. Okay, they will not get whatever the price they have to get, that price they may not be able to get. So efficient market information can shown to have a positive benefits for farmers and traders. Up-to-date information on prices and other market factors enables the farmers to negotiate for the best price or distribution of products from rural areas to towns or between markets where they will get the best price. So if they have a better knowledge about the market, means wherever they get the best price, they will bargain for that price either, or they will not sell the item in that market. They will move to another market for selling the product so that they will get the best price. The information can be provided to the farmers through radio, television, newspapers, and now through websites, mobile app. You know already about this one. The market information can be gathered from radio, television, newspapers. That is common. But nowadays, it's an age of technology. You are having the classes through online only. The same way, online trading is also there. Mobile applications are there. Websites are there. One of the website run by Indian government is the ENAM. Okay, now this is the National Agricultural Markets Portal. This is known as the ENAM. You can search in the internet also. You will find about this also. Now, I hope you understood this session very well, because it's a very small area that we have discussed, and you have already learned about the agricultural marketing and everything. What are the importance and everything you had studied already, and now we have only studied about the remedial measures to the problems of agricultural marketing. So, in from this area, some important questions are there. One 10-mark question is there. Explain the defects in agricultural marketing and suggest some remedies. That means the previous session's question and today's topic, both together as discussion. What are the defects in agricultural marketing? That is the first thing. Second one, remedial measures. So totally nearly 17 points are there. Okay. So you have to go through that also, both combined together. You have to make a answer for this question. Next, 5-mark questions. Three 5-mark questions are coming from, usually asked from this area. They are regulated market. We have already studied about that one. Cooperative marketing and contract farming. So we have learned about that one. If not, again, if you have any doubts, means go through the textbook so that you will be able to learn that properly. And if you have any doubts after this session, you can ask also. And 2-mark question, you can see ACMAR. We have already separated discussion about that one. We discussed about that also. And Raitu Bazaar. This is the most important question coming. Almost every exam this question was asked. So you have to by heart this question also.